Hi, and welcome to Nintu. My name's Alex, and today I'll be walking you through an overview of the platform and how you can get started using Nintu in your own projects. We're going to start off with logging into the platform. Now, if this is the first time you're logging in, it might not seem super obvious, but there's a link over in the header as well as in the footer to log into your account. Simply click on that link and you'll be presented with a page to log in. From here, you can enter your username and your password. Hit enter and you'll be logged in. We'll automatically redirect you over to the templates page to start copying and using our different components. Once logged in, you can also access your dashboard. Your dashboard will be the central place to join our different communities, courses, and get early access to some of the new beta features that are launching as we work on them. To get into your dashboard, simply scroll down to the footer and you'll find a link towards your dashboard that is only visible once you're logged in. Simply click on that link, and from your dashboard, you'll see your different options from the initial welcome page that links you back over to the community and some initial tutorial videos, your account settings if you wanted to re-download an invoice, as well as the affiliate area if you wanted to join Nintu as an affiliate. Now, as a first-time user, there's a couple of steps that you need to go through to set up your configurations to correctly work with all the Nintu components. Now, we'll dig into the details of why you need to set these up a little bit later as we go into more of the intricate customizations, but from a big picture, you'll need to add our custom CSS as well as configuration to the Tailwind settings. And we can do this through Winden. So we're going to do it together. Head over to your website, and from your website, you can then jump into your Winden settings or any Tailwind tool that you're using. And you'll have the option to add a base CSS as well as a config file. Now, where do we get the base CSS and config file? Well, we keep our latest config and CSS files over on our help desk or knowledge base, and you can also access that from your dashboard. So to get there, we're going to go back over to our dashboard, and on the welcome page, you'll see the option for a setup tutorial. Simply click on that, and that will link you directly to the help document that has all the setup configurations needed. Now, we've already set up Bricks Builder, we've already installed Winden. In this case, we're going to jump straight down to the CSS and the config settings. So in step 2 here, you see setting up the style essentials for bricks. All you need to do is click on this code, and that will open a play file with all of the CSS. So we can go ahead and copy everything that's in here, jump back over to our Winden settings, to our CSS file, and we're then going to paste all of the CSS back in. Save changes, and then jump back over to the help document once again. This time we're going to look for the config file, which is linked here. Click on that. And again, we're just going to select all, copy, jump back over to Winden, and then paste in the config. Scrolling all the way back up, we can now hit save changes. Now, I'll have a separate video that walks you through exactly how to configure and customize your own brand styles and colors on Nintu. But for now, let's dive straight into using the components and how the utility classes work. So I've gone ahead here and created a new blank page with bricks. I now have my Winden config and styles set up. All I need to do is go find a layout that I like. So I'm going to head back over to nintu.io, select templates. I am going to choose a hero template. Let's pick this one here. And then simply click the copy for Winden bricks button, and back over to my page, I will do Control V on that page, and you can see that it pastes in that template. Now, keep in mind, images aren't automatically copied and pasted across websites, across templates. So you'll still need to remap the images that you see in the templates. You can do that by finding the image icon inside of the structure panel, clicking on it, selecting the picture, and then finding a new image file that you'd like to use. I think I have a couple on the site already. I do, so I'm just going to select this one here. Insert. There you go. You see it's updated the image. And that is more or less it for copying and pasting components onto your website. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind with these components. The first is that they will automatically sync to your brand colors when you change the brand colors. Again, go have a look at the styling video if you want to learn more about how to update all of the Nintu styles to match your brand styles. Second, is all components come with built-in dark mode and have been pre-designed for that dark mode. So if you didn't want to change anything on the component itself and left it as is, a user could simply toggle between light and dark mode and the component will adapt to the different colors. Let's have a look at that in action. So I've pulled in my template here. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then let's have a look at this template on the front end. You can see here that it's loaded and it's all white, right? Now, if we wanted to switch that to dark mode, I could use my little dark mode toggle. You can see that it updates some of the colors in the design to be consistent with the dark mode style. It does this all while respecting your existing brand colors. So it won't be switching a red to a blue or a blue to a different color. If you're changing between light and dark mode, it will automatically sync them based on your brand style. Jumping back into the builder, we're going to have a quick look now at the utility classes. Now, the utility classes are a layer that sits above the templates that allows you to customize the templates. There are many, many classes, I think over 7,000, all combining the different viewport sizes. If we wanted to change the way something looked on a template, we could simply add a new utility class to it. So if I go over to my button here, I can see I've got just a primary button. If I wanted to change the background of that button, I could apply the background blue utility class to it. So let's give that a try. I would apply BG-blue-500, hit enter, and you can see my button is now updated to blue. If you want to find all of the utility classes, there's two great cheat sheets that have everything combined in one place. The first is our own, and that's available at cheatsheet.nintu.io. On this page, you'll see all of the potential utility classes that you can use with Nintu, organized by their different categories. If you prefer a more compact layout, there's another great cheat sheet by an author called Nerdcave. If you just search for nerdcave.com/tailwind-cheat-sheet and hit enter, you'll find his version of the cheat sheet with all of the same utility classes. Now, keep in mind, you can use any Tailwind cheat sheet. Everything will work. The only difference is that the Nintu one, so cheatsheet.nintu.io, will contain some of the extra unique classes that are just for Nintu, but otherwise it will work across the board. That, for the most part, covers utility classes and customization. Now, let's say I wanted to customize some of my elements globally. There are a few custom global classes that we've set up with Nintu that you can use to manage some of the settings globally, and you can also set up your own global classes if you wanted to. Let's take this button as an example. If I click on the button, you can see that there's a base BTN class, which is a global class, and then there's the BG-blue-500, which is a utility class overriding some of the custom class settings. If I wanted to change just the global class, I could do something along the lines of switching out BTN for BTN-L or -XL. Let's do the XL as an example. And you can see here, it's replaced it with the large variant of that button. Now, if I wanted to change all of my large buttons, I can do that in the Winden settings. Let's go have a look at that together. So from the same website, we're going to jump over to our Winden tab, go into the base CSS settings, and right at the top here, you'll have what is called our layer components. Now, our layer components are essentially components that can be used globally, that can be overridden with utility classes, but that also use those same utility classes to style those global elements. If I was to go back and look at my button-XL here that we just applied, you can see that it's got the white space no wrap class so that the text doesn't wrap. It's got some rounded corners. You can see our BG-primary-500, that's our red background that you see here on Nintu, and a bunch of other utility classes that you can also find definitions on the various cheat sheets. Now, if I wanted to change every single button XL, and I didn't want the background color to be my primary color, I wanted it to be, let's say, a green, for example. I can go into my button XL settings here, find the background class, and switch out, instead of it being P for primary, I'll replace it with green. Go ahead and save that. And then on my page, we'll then see that button XL is now green. If I was to go back to just a normal button, see, it did not affect the normal button because we only customized the global class of the XL button. And this works pretty much the same way for all components that have global classes. Different sections, containers, buttons, headings, texts, cards, icon lists, and much more. You can go have a look in the Winden settings at all of the different layer components, which are all of the global controls that you have for unique elements. Now keep in mind, you can always override those global controls. As we gave in the example just before, if we went back to our button, if we replaced it with the new XL one, and I wanted that background to be red just for this specific button, not globally, I could just add a background class to this specific button. So let's look at that here. I'm going to add BG-P-500. And again, you can see that it's now overridden the global class, the unique utility class. That more or less covers the utility classes and the global class system in its whole. We're now going to have a quick look at Winden to make sure that we understand what it means and how to use it in either staging or production websites. So jumping over to Winden, there's 3 core tabs. Your base CSS, that essentially contains all of the different global classes and components, as well as the modifications to bricks to allow Tailwind to work the way it should, but also to allow you to continue to edit your content through bricks and use bricks' styling and settings when you need it. We then have our Tailwind config, and this is where you change all of the core configuration of the engine. The way Tailwind works is it's very much everything is interconnected, and then there's layers of authority that allow you to determine what gets applied to specific elements. A great example of this is what we just saw with the global classes versus the utility classes. They're configured through the config. You can set a global class, uses utility classes for styling, and is applied globally across your website. You can still use the utility classes to override those global styles on specific pages. The last part is the General tab. And the General tab gives you an overview of some of the different settings Winden has for WordPress and the different integrations with the builders. The first one is the Tailwind version. Now, I like to stick with 3.2.4. Keep in mind, Tailwind doesn't always release their versions and their CDN versions at the same time. So using the latest might not always work. 3.2.4 as of today is a very solid version. Looking down, we've then got autocomplete. I leave this disabled because it adds a lot of extra processing required by the page builders. And if I do want to look up different utility classes, I go back to my cheat sheets. We've got a couple of integration settings, dequeuing settings if you didn't want to use any of the functions within the builder. And then this last setting, which is our production settings. And essentially it is, do we want to use the cached file instead of the CDN file? And do we want to disable the cached file for the admin? Now, it's great to leave both of these ticked just for admin users. And you know that as an admin, things are going to load ever so slightly slower as you're loading everything off the CDN instead of just loading what's been cached off your website. Now, this is fine because you're an admin. It's not the experience users get, but it's faster this way for you to quickly troubleshoot or update things and see the changes in real time, instead of having to regenerate the cache once again. And then when you do have a page which is ready to be published, simply head back to your Winden settings and click on this regenerate cache button. That will send that page over to the Winden servers, analyze it, extract all of the CSS that is not required from the framework, and just feed it back with only the CSS that's needed for that page. And this is part of what makes Winden and Tailwind such an amazing configuration for WordPress, is that you can create a system that is completely interlinked, where all of the utility classes will match your brands, will match your different styles, have fluid spacing, have fluid typography, and yet still allow you to customize elements individually or globally while maintaining complete consistency throughout the framework. Not to mention that passing it then through the worker gives you a final CSS file that's a fraction of the size of any other framework that's currently on the market. To give you some context, Elementor loads at about 350 kilobytes. Some of the newer CSS frameworks like ACSS will load, I believe, in about 160 kilobytes. And a completely built website, hundreds of templates, will take Nintu, for example, loads with just 50 kilobytes of CSS data. That then gets compressed, optimized, and you have constantly super fast loading pages, regardless of how many you build or how much you want to scale up your website. That's a high level overview of what Nintu, Winden, Tailwind, and Bricks Builder is altogether. In this video, we covered an introduction of the components, how to copy them, how to find the resource to get yourself set up, how to customize those components with utility classes, how to customize the global classes, and also how to configure your Winden settings. Now, if you continue watching the tutorials, there'll be a more in-depth breakdown of each of these chapters or each of these topics in following videos. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in our Discord, ping me directly, join any of the different beta programs, just discuss general business, design, AI, and Nintu with fellow designers and creators. Thank you again for the purchase. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate that it's an early access program and that you've committed to something that might not quite be publicly ready. It means a lot to me, and I'm super committed to knocking this out of the park and to creating an awesome product for everyone to use in the WordPress ecosystem. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.